Three, two, one.
Hello, everyone. I guess now is when we do our standard audio checks. But hi, I'm Shahanigans, also known as Shahan Salgado.
Oh, and I'm Eric Al, also known as Eric.
And we are the Chrono Walkers, here for another day in our daily stream, weekly stream, not daily. For day.
Is that a Freudian slip? You want to do this every day?
Don't think every day would work with my life, but I mean, this is what it is.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, please give a shout out in the chat if you're here. Today's topic is our picks for the top. Originally, it was going to be top 10, but then I did some math, and then it was like, wait, hold on, non-affiliation.
Yeah, I know.
So top
you
12.
realize that 6 times 2 is equal to 12? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, in the works. Hey, Jeff, how's it going? A little quiet here. Not sure if it's on your end. Yeah, I guess, let us know if there's any issues with the audio. There always is.
The main thing is that both of us are at a similar level, which is what I want to make sure of. I feel Eric might be louder, but if people don't agree.
I mean, yeah, I usually am.
I'm watching the little green bars go like wop 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 whenever Eric talks and I talk, and Eric is in the yellow to the red. He is like bam in your face. But I'm only.
Damn Americans, right?
I'm just middle of the green bar, so what to see. But yeah, today's topic is we'll see how far we get, but the top our top 12 cards, and we'll do some honorable mentions at the end. Because I mean, like, what's a top X list without extra cards? It's bonus value.
Everyone likes free stuff. You get free cards to look at.
Yeah, honorable mentions for cards that I guess are also above the bar, but like there was some trouble for some of these categories. Yeah, but the way it works is each affiliation gets 2 chances to make the list. And I guess there's no affiliation like no affiliation. So let's just jump in with unaffiliated.
Formerly known as Jalara.
Formerly known as Jalara, but now non-affiliated, which I mean opens up to a lot of interesting design space. So we'll see where things go. But our first one should be no stranger to everyone here, and that is Called Shot. Mostly because we keep on talking about it every time, at every opportunity. Eric, why is this so good?
Well, first of all, it's you got the forward range, you get the 3 damage. It's relatively low cost at 5 chi, so it's perfect for Jeff. But like when we're building decks, and we built a lot of decks, oftentimes we'll end up with like 5 or 10 chi short. And maybe 15, 20, something, and we just need to fill out some cards. And every time, we could fill out with like some interesting, cool cards in this colors or whatever. And then we end up deciding on Called Shot. Let's add some Called Shots to the deck. Like, 2 to 6 Called Shots in every deck, depending on what, even if the deck doesn't really need it, if it's not like a damage-based deck. And then when you play it, you're just like, wow, I'm so happy I have Called Shot in my deck every single time. Like, it's hard to, just looking at it, it looks like a pretty basic card, but when you have it in your hand, it allows you so much more flexibility to protect yourself, protect your summons, to just get that last bit damage off. You hit a summon, then you use this to like take out a summon that has like 4 or 5 health.
Yeah.
Master misplaying it. I don't think you can misplay it. I think it's you just play it. The only misplay is not playing it, I would say.
Yeah.
And it just rounds out so many decks. Almost every single deck.
It's just like a perfect storm. Like it's just like the damage is right on rate, if maybe a little bit above. The energy cost is minimal. And then the added range on it lets you just deal with so many problems. It's just such a good catch all. Yeah, we could wax poetic on Called Shot for a while, but I think but that's our first card. Our next card is dun 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 dun. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Bam! Violent Byman here with a log with your name on it. So this is an 8G, 22 aura, 6 health, 6 range attack, summon with that forward awareness again. Um, well, question about using Call Shot. What new decks would you use Call Shot in from In the Works as a question?
What I would say the better question is what decks would you not use it in, because that's a smaller list.
Yeah, like
Um,
it's just such a good role player. Like you're never gonna be sad about drawing it. Like
yeah, I would actually go a little bit differently and say, if I have a brand new set and I have a bunch of new cool cards I want to play with, I wouldn't include it in my deck. And then I would realize that a lot of those cool cards that I'm using aren't nearly as good as a call shot, and then put that in my deck. That's how it usually goes. Unfortunately, with some of these above rate cards. So if you're trying to be, if you're trying to just like mess around with some new cards, maybe don't put it in there. But I think it's probably pretty good to have a couple copies in.
yeah, just the energy cost is so low that even if you don't, even if you're not an energy um based like attacker champion, like it's still gonna work. Like
Yeah,
it's not bad. It's never bad.
and remember, if someone had seen our first episode of these videos we've been doing the last couple of weeks, our first episode was we were talking about turns, like energy turns, aura turns, stuff like that. Um, and even if you don't have energy reduction, you need energy cards because you want to maximize the amount of cards you can play. So this is just it's basically free if you have energy reduction, and even if you don't, it's a good one, relatively low card to put in your mage decks just to have some damage, right? Like we'll take out a card in the color it is just to put this in, right? Like I think there's like a 3 damage green card, right? That costs aura, and I would take that out of my Alta decks and put Call Shot in, right?
Yeah.
Um, just as an example. Even though it feels like that other card is electric damage and should be optimal, but it's not unless
Yeah.
you go super into electric damage.
It's
But yeah,
like
let's go back to Batman.
yeah, go back to
Unless you have
Batman.
something to say.
I was gonna say
Go.
like it's like a fairly costed lightning bolt. Like lightning bolt is like not fairly costed for if you play Magic. Um,
Yeah.
um,
So take out empowers, worm strikes. Yes, and warp strikes or jukes. A
I
couple.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
So because that card is cheaper, right? Like you would run your deck through the turns counter calculator that I made, or your own. And if you need to cut back on energy spenders, then you might want to take a couple out because it's a little bit cheaper. Um, it's hard to say without the specific deck in mind, but we really like Diving Juke. It's a great card, but it would suck if you have 3 Diving Jukes in your hand and then no damaging techniques or something.
yeah. When I'm building decks, I'm usually not thinking like my reactive movement cards are almost like a different category. So like would I remove a diving jig for Warp Strike is like, well, do you have enough of your reactionary movement slash aggressive movement? So it's not exactly a 1-to-1. Oh, like this is better than diving jig. It's like they're trying to do complete different things, and your deck does need both access to both of those kinds of things. Um, but I can see like Warp Strike, it's a lot cheaper than Warp Strike. Uh, but Warp Strike does feel a lot different. Like for example, I wouldn't like we our emergent worm was
The
it
Bazin deck.
the Bazin Worm Strike, I think is what we called it.
Yeah.
Which was put together like so that has a whole bunch of warp strikes, not as many, not a lot of call strats, if any, I'm not sure. But that's because it really does need the warp strikes. Like they're a key part of how that deck functions. So like that's that's where like stuff gets a little antsy. There can be some narrow niches that you can like pop into there where you'd be like, oh no, it's not right. But in general, if you haven't fine-tuned a deck to that degree, yeah, putting a couple in is never a bad idea.
Yeah, and there's some, probably could have had some call shots in that deck.
Yeah,
Or if
probably.
there were,
Right?
were
Yeah, if there
probably
weren't any, probably should
yeah.
have had some. Yeah. Cool. All right, Violent Byman. This poor Yeti has
Yeah.
been just sitting here with
Oh,
no one talking about
I
it.
know, right? Last one, called shot is just so versatile. I can't read that because there's the heart in the way and won't fit.
Won't fit in a super specialized deck, which is exactly what we were saying. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
we're right
Yeah.
with you, Jeremy. Yeah, you're spot
Yeah.
on. I gave the okay, you are spot on. but
Yeah. Yep, true. Yeah, so Violent Byman. So when Sean earlier said the log is my name on it, it actually does have my name on it, and I signed the log because I like Violent Byman. Very good card. Took it to the championship 2 years ago, a year and a half ago.
So
and it's very good. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, like, what is this being compared to? Like, the obvious one is Angel of Retribution, which unlike Angel, this goes in any color. Which I know I complained a little bit. Same like Cold Shot, I complained a little bit during spoiler season for Origins when I saw these. Because Angel Retribution only goes in Axon Bellum. This can go in any deck. Three aura. Yeah, three. Oh, sorry, not three. Yeah, 3 aura cheaper. Yeah, 3 aura cheaper.
Yep.
Right, 25. Yeah.
3 aura cheaper. Yeah.
Doesn't
12%
have a protective event. Yeah, it doesn't have a protective effect, but turns out hitting, just like in real life, where hitting someone with a spear is better than, the spear is the real weapon of war as compared to the sword. As much as we like to think about, like knights in shining armor with swords, the spear was a real weapon, because it turns out if you're trying to stab someone, being further away is a pretty good way to not get stabbed back. So Violent Byman doesn't have a protective effect like Angel, where you save a little bit of aura, and it's got a built-in protective effect. In fact, by the fact it doesn't need to go as far into the arena to hit something. It doesn't need to be right next to something to hit something. I guess.
Yep. Hey, Damien, that's good. We do have the cards on the screen, but we'll be talking about them, and there's a good chance you know all the cards here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good that you're here. Welcome.
I think.
Yeah, no, 100%. Right.
Yeah.
I think you briefly touched on it. This is basically like a colorless Angel of Retribution. It's kind of nuts how Angel's probably stronger, right? It did win the championship overall, right? I mean, the deck was built around it. Because it has Aerial, and Aerial is kind of busted. But this card kind of counters Angel, right? It can hit that Angel. It can be played in anything. It is cheaper. 6/6, like if you're making a Titan deck, like this is better than a lot of the best summons in some colors, right? And that's like kind of like how College Shot we just mentioned. Like the reason those 2 cards are here is because they're better than a lot of cards in their affiliations, which is like not necessarily where we want to be with the colorless. Usually they're kind of like to fill a gap, I guess, but at a cost, right? Like a little weaker, but maybe if a color doesn't have access to that specific thing, they can kind of get it. But then these are just so much better than the regular cards in their respective colors that they're kind of pushed. Which is fine. They're fun cards to play. I feel good when I play them, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It's just something to point out.
Yeah, I mean, when we were looking at my Gamilla deck about a month back, which is, first of all, wow, a month back, but Caustic Millipede, one of the things was I didn't have enough aura spenders, so this was a good way to get the aura up in your deck if you need more aura spenders. But that's one way that the colors, I guess, do get a benefit, is that typically we've been seeing HCs cheaper than Violent Byman. But as we've kind of mentioned a couple times throughout our various streams over the past month, spending less resources doesn't win you games. Playing good cards wins you games. So you're okay spending 22 versus the 18 of a Caustic Millipede, because just getting 6 damage is fantastic.
Yeah.
It also slots into one of the... Oh, sorry, we got a question you want to hit?
Yeah, I was just looking at some in chat. Yeah, they're both boringly powerful. I agree, Jeremy. That's kind of,
Mm.
you know, kind of true. I mean, they're fun to play with, right? Like Violent by Man, like on the surface, maybe a little boring just because it's just really strong, but it does create some interesting game states. Um, Maybe for the person playing against it, it's going to be, frustrating, I guess. Damien's bragging, saying that he, played against this multiple times and beat them all. He did beat me. He was my only loss in the Swiss round, so um, I guess that makes sense. That checks out. um, Instant targets, yeah. So it's definitely a big target
Yeah,
on a
no,
stack
it's
when it's
well, I
displayed.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, target because it's so threatening, right? Like you need to
Hmm.
get it off the board fast.
Yep.
Um,
Which is why I played it in my Kato deck because Kato has a kind of built-in protection.
yeah, you
So
could,
you play this, have protection up. Um, yeah, basically, right?
yeah, but and more critically, like play it in an aggressive position, right? Because Kato has that warp ability in front of it, so
Hmm.
usually you're trying to put these like this is the Titan play style for those who aren't aware, one of the major archetypes in Genesis for games, which is where you play a Titan, where it's violent, biomet, caustic millipede, angel of retribution, and you're trying to either protect it or support it in getting like 2 or 3 good hits off, and then the rest of your cards can finish off your enemy. And with Kato, like usually Titan, you want to be a little bit protective on the first round when you're getting these guys out, because like you don't want them to come down and then the opposing champion just rushes up and focuses them down. So you'd like maybe move to the side and drop it to the left or right of you on your first turn. But Violent Byman with Kato's warp ability, for just 3 energy, I think. So 3 cards off the top.
It was,
Uh,
yeah, 5 aura. It's 4 energy, but you have energy reduction. So yeah, 5 aura, three
yeah,
energy.
5 and yeah, 3 cards off the top. You can just end up putting it into a protected spot if it didn't work out. So like the opponent is like, okay, you put it out there in a more defenseless spot, so maybe I can rush it down. But if I try to rush it down, like every time I spend a card to try and hit it, you're just gonna spend some aura and some cards off the top of your library to just put it into the spot where it is more protected and harder to get at. So it's kind of like it gets to just be in that threatening position to start, which is
Yep.
one of the benefits of Kato with
And also, yeah, on top of that, because you're threatening the warp on Kato, people won't even necessarily go for it because they're like, oh, he'll just warp away. So you don't have to spend those resources, just
threat
so
of
even though
activation.
it's just a threat of activation exactly. Gives people pause. But yeah, no. So starting off Jalaro came off strong. Sorry, non-affiliation came off strong. Two very powerful, boringly powerful cards. But I guess if want to go to the next one.
Yeah, so our next one is maybe less boringly powerful and more complicatedly powerful, which is
I mean,
Calculated Assault.
calculatedly powerful.
Calculatedly powerful. Calculated Assault, which is a scary card because
Hmm.
of the fact that it. I mean, for me, it kind of lends into a combo style play style, which I'm not the biggest fan of. But hey, it exists. We got to talk about it. But yeah, this kind of like puts up or creates ways to make decks all by itself almost, right? Like this, it's a 7G, basic attack 3, 5 energy, only the forward awareness. And yeah, while Calculated Assault's attack ability is the 4th or greater ability in the stack, its basic attack 3 becomes basic attack X, where X is the number of abilities on the stack. So this is leaning exactly into some combo play. And it is the payoff. And it's
Yes.
going in your 7G slot, which is good. It shouldn't be in the 3G slot. Um,
So I see Will looks worried. I'll touch on that in a second. Jeremy's saying I had fun with this in my first Iblis deck. Yes, so the meta Iblis deck I think didn't run this, but should, because this card basically rewards you by like creating a large stack, which hasn't really been a thing before then. But once this card got released, you can really see, especially with like some of the breaks and stuff like that, just how big of a stack can get. Like we're talking like 12, 15 plus abilities on the stack, right? And think about it, that's 15 damage, right? Now that you're translating all that stack to damage with this card. Never been able to get this card to go. Yeah, you really, I guess you really have to build around it. I would
Yeah,
say,
you have to really get into it.
yeah, the Iblis deck with the breaks, I think, is probably one of the better decks I can think of that can run this because that deck really needs a finisher, and this is a finisher. And it also generates large stacks. I would say there probably is a better deck out there that can go all in on this one. It's hard. It can be a little tough. I don't know that yet, but it does. But the reason I want to come back to Will, what's a stack? $1,000, I think. But Will is worried as a designer because now every single time he's got to pay extra focus on cards that create stacks, right? So this is a massive headache for the design team. Kind of like Kirin, right? Like Kirin makes it so every unaffiliated Axon or Thymos card, like you now have to compare how does it work with Kirin. This is kind of similar. It's like whenever there's a unaffiliated or actually any card really because of how it works that creates large stacks, and I think we might touch on some of that later.
Damien with Stampeding Force decks. Oh my gosh, Cayenne. That's a thing.
I definitely thought about that 100%. Yeah, that's gonna be a thing. I think. Yeah, 100%. Yes. Yeah, those are some good points, yeah, Jeremy. But that's like a fair way of playing it, I think, right? So, and I think maybe that's why it can be hard to go off. Like we want things completely broken and unfair, and I think Damien's kind of touched on that with this card. We don't really have a visual aid to kind of demonstrate Stampeding Force decks. Maybe at some point we'll go into it, and I'm sure there's going to be a Stampeding Force Kion deck, probably with this card. But that one can absolutely create 10 plus cards on a stack or abilities on a stack easily. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this one's a scary one and definitely something to keep on the lookout for. There's no like super competitive deck this one's in, but it's something to look into.
It's waiting in the wings. Like it's kind of like every time a new set comes out, it's kind of like, is there something busted and can we do it? Like, can we bust calculated assault? It's kind of like for those familiar with Magic and Modern.
Storm.
I apologize for all the Magic analogies if you're not familiar with Magic, but like Simian Spirit Guide is like whenever a new thing comes out and it's kind of busted, it's always like, does this work with Simian Spirit Guide? It's like because that's just a way to get a free mana.
Yeah, well that card got banned.
Yeah, it did get banned. Yeah, for that reason, right? Like, because it's like every time it's only ever used to do busted things.
I was gonna say this is like Grape Shot though, right? Like basically.
Yeah, this is more of the other side of it. It's more of the Grape Shot thing. It's not the engine piece. It's the egg. It's the end. So it's kind of like, yeah. Does this?
I will say
does this support
this is
assault?
way more balanced than Grape Shot because it's a one-time attack as opposed to a million different attacks. We don't have to go into the different schemes, but yeah. So this is something to look out for, and honestly, combo is definitely scary in Genesis, and we've done our best. I mean, we've tried to like look at different cards, try to prevent combos and stuff like that.
On the testing side, for those who aren't aware, we both help.
And I think that this is like, I think there should be combo. It's just like it's so hard to put combo in this game without it being completely broken and unfun. And I guess this is like it's right on the edge, and I think it's probably as fair as it could be. Just because it takes so much resources to get to a point where it does a lot of damage, and then it can still be dodged or something.
Yeah. But anyway, we better move on, otherwise we won't even get to the end of Origins before the end of this video. Never mind getting to.
Did you think we were gonna finish the whole thing? Come on.
I thought we at least could do Origins. But moving on, the next one is
Yeah, combo that card
A card that basically locked up an entire championship. I think with its printing, kind of was like the last missing piece. And that is Protective Barrier. So 5 chi. It's got the all adjacent spots awareness, swift cast, 2 health, and 11 aura. Prevent all damage dealt to you and a target, and not or. Prevent all damage dealt to you and a target in Protective Barrier's awareness this round. So you may be like, what is why am I paying 2 health to protect myself? That doesn't seem very good. Like, I mean, like, if someone points a call shot at me, I still take 20 or 66% of the call shot. Well, as it turns out, when you're dealing with a Titan-style deck, where your Titan is Angel of Retribution, where it already has a degree of protection, and then you have this 5 chi, so it's not costing you chi to put it into your deck, but you have this to, just in case they have something, you can still protect your Angel, and a little bit of yourself. Yeah, turns out it's good. And yeah, this took the German team all the way to the finals, and then to victory in the finals.
That's right.
Anything you want to add there, Eric?
Yeah, no, you touched on some great points because of how aerial works. Some decks don't have great ways of dealing with it, so sometimes you only have like maybe 2 tsunamis, and like you're just lucky just to even get that, and just preventing just one of those, if not both, right? Like that completely ruins your game plan and makes it impossible to kill. So there's that. I do also want to say that you probably don't want 25 calculated assaults in your deck. So maybe stick to the 50 call shot to sheer deck. I think that probably wouldn't even be terrible. I would recommend maybe adding like 10 to 20 diving dukes, and then we'll call it a day. But yeah.
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 Call shots and diving dukes.
Yeah.
No, sounds good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that'd be pretty good. But yeah, so for this card, yeah, no, 100% agree on that. And so that deck had what? It had 3 Chiwei, a 5 Chiwei, and a 7 Chiwei of defending. And so this is just like one extra piece in that championship deck, right? So so I think these 2 cards in Vellum, right, like they're actually pretty niche compared to the universally powerful cards that we mentioned in the unaffiliated ones. They do require a deck to be built around them. They're not something that you can just like slap into any deck and call it a day. Yeah, you definitely can't just pick up 25 of them and 25 another card and slap them together. That wouldn't work. But when you can build around them, and I think what's really fun and cool in deck building is putting together these kind of like, I wouldn't say underpowered cards, but niche cards into a situation where they become very powerful, and I think that's what these 2 cards do.
Yeah, and even forcing a situation where they're powerful, which Angel of Retribution does so well.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. We'll quickly move along, get to a new color. Look at this. We're 33% of the way through. Let's go. And we're in Thymos, our red color, and then our first card is going to be where'd it go? I haven't hit it. There it is. Bam. Snare. So, Snare, I guess 4 chi, 1 health, alteration trap, 5 energy. Place snare on an occupied spot is the trap text. Snare. Champions and summons cannot leave this spot. Trigger. Decay. At the end of the round, Snare loses 1 health. So, like, Eric, what is this? How can this be good? Like, all it does is, like, stop something, but by the end of the round, it kills itself. So, like, it's not even going to prevent them for multiple turns. So, like, why is this good?
Why is it good?
A leading question.
Well, you see, I think you're making a huge misunderstanding there. You said for multiple turns. When you play this, there won't be multiple turns, right? So a lot of anti-movement tech, right? There's like pins and stuff like that, and other cards like stop you from moving, or stunned or whatever it is. You can just dodge, or you can prevent the damage, or you can do something like that. This, you literally can't stop it from hitting you, so to speak. So they play it, and you can try to move, and then just put it under you anyway, right? Just due to how the stack works.
Yeah, and it's not.
So you're going to be
It's not
stuck.
targeting anything. Like
Yeah.
that's clear. Like it's not targeting a spot. It's not targeting a
Yes.
combatant.
Yeah.
It's not targeting
Yeah. So
anything.
yeah. So just to make that clear, right, when you play it, you don't say I'm going to play on the spot. So this is like something I guess for newer players. When you play the card, you're like I'm going to play snare. You don't say I'm going to play snare here. You say I'm going to play snare. They say they do their thing. Then you say okay, snare resolves. All right, resolving. I'm going to place it where I want to place it. Right. So that's something to keep in mind, and that's how it works with summons too. Just like kind of a basic thing. You don't want to actually tell people more information than they have to know if you're trying to be competitive. But so this one, so they could try to dodge, they can move away, and sometimes that actually makes sense. I've done that where they'll play the snare, I'll move away, they'll snare me, and then I'm far enough back so that they can't hit me or unload on me. But let's say you can't do that. You snare them, they can't move, and this allows the player who played the snare. And if they're in Thymos, they have a lot of these, which is like direct damage abilities, techniques, spells, whatever, to just unload on their opponent. Say you have a calculated assault that's up for 15 damage. You don't want that opponent to move, so you can snare them. And even if they can move away from you in some way, you waste a snare instead of the calculated assault, right? And that's another key right there. Because once you snare them, once you get that under them, and you can hit them, they're pretty much done. That being said, I will say this is actually a little bit weaker if A, the player knows that you have this card, and B, they're kind of a summon in a deck, because it does have 1 health. So the biggest counter is to have a summon next to you that has its awareness where you are, and just kill it before it can do anything. So that's one thing. Snare's anti-ChronoRank, that's correct. Yep, it prevents ChronoWalker from doing anything too.
Doing a switch, yep.
Doing the switch, yeah. I believe the ChronoWalker just will move on to where the snare is, right?
Yeah.
Or does the right? The ChronoWalker doesn't stay.
Well, actually, whichever it goes. So.
Oh yeah.
I believe is the way it ended up being. Yeah.
That's right, because you can play it under the ChronoWalker or under the player. Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, no, it's that's why it's good, because it stops your opponent from moving, and then you just kill them.
Yeah, and it turns out just preventing one movement phase can mean all the difference in the world. Like I mean, what's it called? I've been in a position where you play one.
So Damien's saying they both fails, right? With the rule change. That's right. With the rules change.
That was pre-rules change. Yeah, sorry, no, that's our mistake. Pre-rules change, it did something like that, and then it just fails. With the
no movement.
Sorry.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, like sometimes just preventing that one movement. Like I've been on the receiving end of a snare where like I use a movement technique because I want to get up in some there, and then they snare me, and I'm staring my other movement technique in the hand. It's just like, I mean, there's no point in playing this either, because like I mean I could do this, but then I'll just be stopped. It's like it can really ruin turns when used precisely. Yeah. And this might have also been one of the reasons that Satyr Dash was a big part of the meta coming up on the 2021 championships. But the big Satyr deck that made it the furthest in the championship was actually Satyr Range, and I can't help but wonder if Snare's a big part of that, because it's such an easy card that doesn't have, like, it's always seems to have a solid utility in Genesis games, because everyone's playing some degree of movement, but so it's never really dead. And then, it can shut down incidental, like a summon with dash, it puts a trigger on the stack on like a champion if it wants to do its move. So you can just shut down that entire summon's movement for the entire turn. I
will say, Tiger. Tiger.
Tiger.
And also, actually, a cool thing that I did with this card when I was playing against Oliver, I think, Ollie, was he had his Angel, and it could move up and kill my Bymant with double moving. So I put the snare right in front of the Angel, so that if it tried to move forward, it would just get stuck there. So you can kind of like use it almost as a preventative measure too. Like, so that even if they move into that thing, then they can't get out of that spot.
Yeah, well, I guess that would have had to be a summon or something in front of the Angel.
There was a summon. That's true. It does have to be occupied. And there was a summon there, and I was just like, all right, I don't care if you kill that summon, but don't kill my summon, my Bymant, please.
Yeah, because
but yes, that's true.
Yeah, because Angel would have been just flying over that summon to go straight for your Bymant, right? Like, with a.
And the
Well, I
reason
mean
I
that's
didn't put it on
something.
the Angel is because then his Nubia could just kill the snare. By the way. Yeah.
Very
But
nice.
anyway, so there's a lot of different like cool plays you can do this.
Cool.
I am like we're talking about these old cards in the works because we are excited and we're trying to not get ahead of ourselves. You know? But and you know we hopefully there's some new players coming to this game and we just kind of want to highlight some of the cards that you know they could be looking at from the more accessible sets.
Yeah. So our next one is one that we've mentioned a couple times already in this stream, so it finally gets to show its face, and that's Diving Juke. So 5 chi, it's got the, I guess, diagonals awareness. So I guess forward, right, back, left, back, right. It is 6 energy, so not inexpensive. And it is a swift move to spot in Diving Juke's awareness.
Mm-hmm.
This is just like the moment it was spoiled, we knew that this was like going to be one of the most powerful cards, powerful new movement techs added to the game.
Yep.
Especially for Thymos, which is like generally an aggressive color. I mean, yeah, Eric, what do you want to say about this here?
Yeah, I mean, one thing, 6 energy is a little expensive, but the Thymos champions generally have some good energy reduction, so it's actually not too bad. Yeah, so what's so good about this one, right, is that diagonals is actually kind of like two movements, right? If you think about it that way. So a lot of movement tech might only be able to move once, right? But this gives you 2 movements in a bunch of different directions. So A, it just has like pretty effective like value in terms of how much you're moving. B, it allows you to play. It's an aggressive and defensive card, right? Because it allows you to, if you're surrounded by summons, or you have one in front of you, you know, 2 on either side. This allows you to kind of get past them if you're a fighter, and go directly, you know, to the champion. There's definitely some times when you get surrounded, you don't know how, and the summoner is like, oh, I got them, they're surrounded. I can just like, you know, wail on them and they can't get to me, and then they just diving juke past the summons, run at you and kill you or something like that, right? So that crazy versatility to be able to do that, but then also to, you know, run away or back off, or if you get attacked from the side, then you go diagonally backwards and then boom, you can hit them because now they're in your awareness, something like that, right?
Yeah. Like,
And then you have like champions like Tashir with her very long awareness can not only move backwards but also still attack because of her range.
yeah, it works so
Yeah,
well with that far front awareness that Tashir has so well. Like they come at you from an adjacent spot. Yeah, you're gonna be able to hit them. And yeah, just if you don't understand why this is so good, try to craft a scenario where someone can't get out of it with a diving juke. Like it gives you so many options that it's like basically impossible to like force someone trap someone in a way that diving juke doesn't get rid of them. I mean, snare is like one of the things, like the other one we just talked about. It's like that's the kind of card you need.
Surround them on all 8
on
sides.
all 8 sides. Oh yeah, super easy.
Yeah, yeah. Because if anyone's like, oh, just like put things in the corners, it's like, all right, I'll just run forward. You know? I will say, actually, it's kind of interestingly, Sung, new champion, actually, one of the few Simulus cards that probably, or champions that probably wouldn't play this card, just due to his awareness. But you know, just a side
lineup as well.
Side note, yeah. Yeah, and it's a common, which is good because you're going to need a lot of them, right? I would say between 4 and 8 in every Thymos deck. Something like that.
Yeah. Cool.
Evade left, yeah. Evade left in front flip, yeah. Probably.
Yeah,
right?
I have to see. Well, so, I mean, like, so we know Phage evades left. What affiliation?
No, Phage evades right.
Oh, Phage evades right. Sorry, Phage evades right. What affiliation evades left? Like, put your votes. Which one do you think evades left? We'll have to see. Cool. All right.
Yep.
Let's get to I guess the halfway point, sort of. It's 7:40. Look at that.
Halfway point.
The quarterly point. Yeah, because we've done 3 factions, but I mean, they got honorable mentions, so we'll see how we do. But I mean, a card that also, I mean, we've been talking about but I mean, I love this card. It's fairly costed, which is like so sad. Uh, like what a fair card. But oh my gosh, I love Warp Strike. So 5 chi, forward, left, right awareness, 9 aura, and 5 energy. Swift, you may move to a spot. Sorry, move to a spot adjacent to a target in Warp Strike's awareness. So just think, if you think that's not 3 spaces you have access to, that's potentially 8. No, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, 5 spaces that you have access to. No, that's not right either. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
6.
7.
7? 7. Yeah, 7.
7.
Yeah.
7. Potentially 7 spots that you have access to. I was closer with my 8 at the start. And then if you have mood because of Warp Strike, then you deal 3 damage to a target in Warp Strike's awareness. So the versatility of this card is nuts, especially if you have just a couple of summons on the board, whether they're yours or your opponent, because there's no rule that whatever you used to move around for that first Swift Warp is the same thing that you need to hit. Not a rule at all. So, oh my gosh, yeah, this is another one where it's incredibly hard to pin down a champion if they got a couple Warp Strikes in their back pocket. And if they're playing with their own summons or you're playing with summons, then this can do like reasonable damage, 3 damage at 5 chi. Not even reasonable, good damage, I'd say. And yeah, and it's a kind of a get out of jail card. Eric, what do you want to say?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, with Kato, yep, definitely with Kato. I use this in the Bazin deck. We called it Worm Strike because half the deck was Emergent Worms, the other half the deck was Warp Strikes. I mean, 3 damage on your 5 chi is pretty good. The movement is also really good. You're right; it is fairly costed. It does have a cost. It's something you have to consider when you're playing it. And that's what we were talking about earlier. You know, maybe taking out 1 or 2 copies for a called shot just to kind of like lower your cost a bit. But overall, it's not too crazy. You'll be able to play, you know, a bunch of these throughout the game. But you can almost think of it like a 2-for-1 in a sense, right? Because if your opponent is attacking you, say they're using their called shot against you, you can dodge it and then hit them for 3 or kill a summon, right? So that's like stopping their thing and then taking out another one of their things, and that's like a 2-for-1 if you want to think about it like that, right? And so that's why this card can be really good on top of just the sheer amount of places you can go, as we mentioned earlier. So it does have a semi limitation in that you need to be near something, right? Or it has to be in.
But that can be
awareness.
Your summon. You have one of your summons to your left or right. Someone tries to get you from behind, which is like the weakness of Warp Strike. You just move basically beside them using your own summon as the target that you're moving adjacent to, and then you can move, you know, to the left or right of what was previously attacking from behind and get 3 damage off on them as well. Because why not?
Yep.
Like,
and actually, In the Works does bring up a great point. A lot more high damage range abilities now. Rendering Blade, Doom Blade. You can't get out of there if there's no one adjacent. That's very true. And when I went 5-0 in the Swiss in one of the tournaments, and then lost my first game against a Bolt Walker Nubia because they have tsunamis and bolt shots. And guess what? I couldn't dodge. So, so yeah, it's definitely tough, and you're 100% right. You have to either, in that situation, understand that it's your job to get up close and be super aggressive, which is kind of hard when you have no health as Bazin. Or you can kind of stay back, or you have like summons around you to like warp around them or something like that. But yeah, no, late Chain Carver is amazing in Bazin, and I definitely want to maybe revisit that deck to include.
Yeah, that's a definite include in the Worm Strike deck. If you ever have a chance to update that.
But yeah, no, but In It Works you're 100% correct, and so that's definitely something to think about. It definitely could be a meta call. This is a great card in standard metas, I guess, where people are playing summons and trying to hit you from the front and, you know, doing stuff like that, and maybe in some sort of like ranged metas where everyone's playing Bolt Shot and Tsunami, which I guess is every meta at this point. Maybe it's a little bit weaker, but it's still so versatile. and you have control over it because you can warp around your own things. But it's still very powerful and something to look into. And if you are concerned about it not being great, it's very easy to sideboard out, right? Because you can put called shots in your sideboard and then just like take this out, put those in,
Hot swap,
boom.
1-for-1.
Yeah, easy. But yeah, you can click back in and then warp strike. Yep.
Yeah, because quick beckon just lets you put something down where you need it. Or even like using this to dance around. Like if it comes down to it, if you have to, you can just pop an emergent worm next to you where it would hit you, and then use your warp strike to move out the way. And then like the attack from your own emergent worm wouldn't hit you.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Our next one is unfortunately one that's not going to be surprising to anyone, and that is Tsunami. 5 chi, the Tsunami awareness. Weird that it has that awareness, but I guess it is the far front. 18 aura, action cast. You deal 3 water damage to everything in Tsunami's awareness. We've talked about this, talking about powerful cards that we're not going to mention that should be in your decks. We've talked about this when referencing its awareness because it's such a ubiquitous card. And we've referenced this when we're like talking about rate, like just like damage per sorry, not just rate, but a rate and range for talking about how to make actions good. Like what are the ways to fix actions? Give them range, and give them like so that they can hit more of the board, impact more without needing the extra movement. Yeah, this shows why those are all good.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Tsunami awareness, exactly. Everyone knows what that means. And also, to point out like this undercostedness, right? It's like if you hit 2 things with this, you're actually happy, right? So you only need to hit 2 things, and you're fine with it. And it kind of is like even in cost if you do that. So if you hit anything more than 2 things, it's like so far above rate that it's insane. And even hitting one enemy with this at the end of the game, right? Like someone's got a couple of health left and you just kill them with this. It's hard to get out of, as we talked about earlier. You can't warp strike out of it because of its range. So yeah, it's probably slightly undercosted, amazing range, decent damage that clears a lot of like the smaller summons out. This card does kind of keep a lot of swarm decks in check. And you're like, what swarm decks? I'm like, exactly. So yeah, I mean, anyone that's played with this card or against it knows that this is definitely the real deal. We didn't really want to talk about it because everyone knows about it, but when we're talking about like the best cards to get in each affiliation, like you can't not talk about Tsunami for Axon. It's very good. Yeah, exactly, right? Like Landsight's 28 aura and this is 18. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's time mode. I mean, this is an Axon card. What are you supposed to do? Make underpowered Axon cards like that?
Yeah, blue must be overpowered.
Yeah, the Axon effect.
Every game in the first set, you must make overpowered blue cards. It's a rule for TCGs. You have to do it. Cool. Next one is going to be, I guess, Phage's answer to the Tsunami, and that is Electrical Storm. So we've gone up 1 in chi to 6 chi. We still have the Tsunami awareness. Sorry, Electrical Storm. It's been co-opted, not the Electrical Storm awareness. We've lost 2 aura in the cost, going to 16 aura. And then we've got a little bit of a perk, and I wonder why. You deal 3 electrical damage to everything without aerial in Electrical Storm's awareness. What? It can't even hit aerial? No. It's because we got something special for the aerial summons. You deal 6 electric damage to everything with aerial in Electrical Storm's awareness.
Wow, and it's even swift too. What's going on?
Oh yeah, sorry. Is that fixed on the other one? It is action speed. Okay, there we go. I'll pull up the non full art version. There was a little misprint there. Yeah, not swift speed, because oh my gosh, then we would be, instead of talking about Tsunami, we'd be talking about Electrical Storm, because don't put the fear of God into me.
Yeah, nerf to the aerial, nerf true.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, so I think this is an example of the chi system in play, and it's actually great. Like when I'm building decks for Axon Phage, it's actually a decision to come up with Tsunami or Electrical Storm, because you are saving on the aura, but you're spending um, the chi. And a lot of the times, I think you want to spend the aura, save the chi, right? Like that's generally better. Which is an unfortunate. I mean, I wouldn't say unfortunate, but like side effect of this card,
that's
or
the way it breaks down. Yeah,
yeah, it's just kind of how it works. That being said, if you're not an Axon, this is a very strong card. I would say the 6 damage to aerial. I don't. How often has that come up? Maybe if maybe when it's hard to say because like Phage is still underutilized because they don't have enough cards yet. I would say in the competitive scene.
Yeah,
And
hopefully
with
with
changes
Metamorphosis,
to
we'll see that fixed.
changes to aerial. Yeah. Aerial isn't as crazy anymore, but it's still very good. They got the Angel.
Like nerfed with the aerial nerf is kind of like people play less aerial because maybe aerial isn't as strong, but like the aerials that they will still play are the ones that you do still need to like. This is the one that you want to hit it with. So, and that's Angel of Retribution, to be clear. Most of the other aerial stuff doesn't even have more than 3 health. I'm trying to think. Right?
But I just want to bring up, as we were talking about protected barrier earlier, you're only going to have like 3 to 5 electrical storms, 2 to 5 electrical storms in your deck, right? And so you're lucky to see 1 or 2. You're going to use this against a Angel of Retribution, and it's going to bounce right off. They're going to prevent the damage because they have 2 to 3 times more protective spells than you have ways of dealing with it, which is like one of the biggest problems with aerial, right? And why we needed anti-aerial stuff in the game. Yeah, the Zambar Dragon Awareness. That's right. Called the Dragon Awareness. Maybe that's a better name for it. Yeah, I actually like that better. Dragon Awareness. Anyway, I think we've kind of. I don't know how much more needs to be said. We talked about Tsunami. This is basically just Tsunami.
It's a lot of the notes that Tsunami does. Like.
Yeah, it's a good card, strong card. Put it in your non-Axon Phage decks.
Yeah, and then our next card is actually one I'm excited to talk about because we get to talk about something that isn't quite as obvious, but when you start building decks, it becomes really important, and that is the role and importance of having strong 3 chis in your colors. Just have this doesn't look like a good card on the face of it, right? It's 3 chi. Action execute, you pay a health, so like you're helping your opponent fundamentally. Reveal the top 2 cards of your timeline. You may put any of them into your memories, put the rest back in any order. Like it doesn't even draw you the cards, right? It just lets you look at them and then conditionally put them in your memories or reorder them if you want to draw them in a different order. But it's good. It's so good. It's like a card the fight between card quality and card advantage is so interesting in Genesis with the chi system, because fundamentally we do have cards which stapled in the top corner, say, or in the bottom corner now, with a frame change. That this card is like a better card than other cards. Like the cards have different weight. It's not just like their cost and you're evaluating like just a 6 aura thing versus what 6 aura can do. Like there's just a fundamental these cards are better than other cards. And a 3 chi, so it's making all the rest of the cards in your deck better quality. That also lets you find those cards for not nothing, but for a minimal cost. Like recomposition, very, very good card. You should be playing more of it. Eric, I'm sorry, I kind of went on a started waxing heroic about it.
I mean, that's what we're doing here. We're going on tangents about these cards because these are good cards. We do like them. They're fun to play with. If they weren't, they wouldn't be on this list. But yeah, recomposition definitely surprised me. It's very good in the Iblis deck. I think that's like the first time when we were talking about Iblis and we did our champion primer for Iblis, we included this card in there. Everyone should go check out those champion primers. We put a lot of work into them. But this card, so yeah, on the surface it doesn't seem like that much. But you touched a lot on what makes it really strong. I would also say the fact that it costs health is actually a strength to it because it doesn't cost resources other than health. Like most cards don't actually cost health, and health is a resource. So it actually allows you to dip into an alternate resource. So that's one thing. And then 100% about the card strength. This allows you to thin out your deck, so you get better cards. It also triggers the breaks, right? So you lose health, so now all your breaks get triggered. Actually one of the key cards in the Iblis deck because you can play this card, trigger all your breaks, and get a stack going, right? That's one stack for every break you have equipped. So we see that with Iblis, right? And I think right now, I think Iblis is the best champion to play with this card. I think we have Caleb coming, and this one's very good for Caleb. Allows you to flip very
that consistent flip, yeah.
Yeah, consistency. Yeah, so it's a non-6 chi that allows you to flip very consistently. So that's pretty good about it, and just getting better cards, right? 3 chis kind of suck. So like it's so not only does this make it makes sure that you don't draw another recomp, right? Like you put the recomps in deck so that you cannot draw them, and try not to get fatigue or use mill. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, actually, yeah. Don't put your good cards on top and then forget that they're there, and then
warp strike
play your yeah, exactly. Very good point. So that's another thing, right? Like, say your opponent puts 2 cards back on top, maybe you want to go after them, force them to use that that energy, right?
Yeah,
so that's a good point.
Comp, yeah. And then the opponent starts putting bad cards on top, hoping that you'll. But I mean, like that's where it gets the mind games start going, which we love.
But yeah, no, it's a cool card, fun card, skill testing card.
Yeah, so let's move on to get onto our last caller. It still isn't 8 o'clock, so we're on time, sort of, probably. And here is Emergent Worm. Oh wait, no, there's a full art version. Bam, 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 epic version. Yeah. Oh my god, love this card so much. Had so much fun building with it. But yeah, we've got left and right awareness. It's a 6 chi, 3 health, quick beckon. Trigger, range fire attack 3. When Emergent Worm enters the arena, it deals 3 range fire damage to a target in its awareness. So be careful playing it, because if you're the only target, it is going to attack you when you play it to the left or right yourself.
It is not a May.
It is not a May. And then Swift, range fire attack 3, exert. So just a Swift with a great awareness. Like, it's kind of funny, these kind of like the Olims and the Emergent Worms with the left and right awareness, they just kind of spend the entire game rotated on their side and then doing the same movement as everyone else. But I mean, quick beckon, like it's 3 damage to someone's face to start, and then a reasonable body. Like just a great card. Eric?
Yeah, I do want to give a shout out to Will for he's the designer of this one. I think, is this the first card that's officially designed? Maybe, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Also, I brought my foil full art epic Emergent Worm to the championships and forgot to have you sign it. So maybe one day. Anyway, so I built an entire deck around this. This is the Zazen Worm Strike deck. This is the worm in that equation. So quick beckon obviously is very strong ability. Allows you to play it at swift speed, and we talked about last week. Swift speed is just way stronger than action. So that right there is good. 11 aura is actually relatively on the cheaper side. And then then you get the 3 damage when you play it, right? So you get the 3 damage for 11 aura at 6 chi. So that's actually kind of a little bit underrated, right? If we look at some of the other cards at that chi value and the cost, right? Like we can get like Called Shot also does 3 damage. And it will cost energy, but I guess there's like some 12 aura 3 damage cards. So why is this good? Well, it leaves a body, so now it does double the damage.
And yeah, 6 damage at 6 chi is way above rate.
Yep, like, exactly. So if you can get one more hit in, then it goes from being slightly undercosted to slightly overcosted to being incredibly undercosted. So it creates a body that they have to deal with. It just does the damage immediately, and with Bazin you have like so much range that you can hit with. I actually haven't played this card without Bazin. I don't know if other people have. Um,
Yeah, if you
I
tell
would
us how it is now.
say, yeah. So Emergent Worm feels a perfect damage health chi balance. I mean, it does is 3, 3, and 6, right? And I guess it probably does feel very well balanced if you're not playing it in Bazin, and if you are playing Bazin, it's very it feels very strong. Um, so we will say that. Yeah, don't. Yeah, that's right. For the recomp about Pretty Bird, yeah, be careful about Pretty Bird as well. Um, easy to kill in response. Yeah, yeah. So it can get rid of the traps, right? It's a good way of getting rid of the snare. So
Yeah,
that's a
if
good
someone
point.
puts a trap on you. Yeah,
I
exactly.
definitely killed some snares in my day. Um, easy to kill in response. Yep. That's definitely a good point. Called shot actually works great killing this in response. Keep that in mind. And which is why Bazin's so good because you can play it to the diagonals, so you can kind of avoid called shots. Um, so yeah, so I would also like to point out one last thing in that the in that Bazin deck, one I guess problem with it, right, is the going first versus going second. That deck was 10 times better going first than going second. And the reason why is because we talked about how much better the card is when you can hit twice versus hitting once. And if you go first, you can at the end of the turn, double move, 6, 8 emergent worms, hit them for or 4, 8 emergent worms, let's say, even just 4. That's 12 damage. Go to the next round, immediately go again, hit them for another 12. That's 24 damage. Right, that's a lot of damage. Kills most players with only 4 emergent worms, and we had a lot of emergent worms. Going second, you do the same thing, and then they just start the turn and move away, right?
It's still
So
strong, but it's not
still
busted.
strong. So yeah, so like the when I lost to that Nubia Boltwalker, not only did my Swift strikes, warp strikes, not weren't as effective, but I went twice. I went second twice instead of first twice. But anyway, that's another story. But it's something to think about when you're playing this card, right? This is a lot stronger going first and going second, and it which is while I do like the card, it's fun to play with. It does push the for going first or going second power level a little bit further away. I would like those to be a little closer in balance, but that's
Yeah.
future balances can worry about that.
Yeah. Cool. Let's move on to our second one, which is part of a cycle, but it's the one that saw the most play.
Yeah, and
Um,
if Damien were here, you would be very happy to see this.
but he'll just have to hear it, I guess, if he's still listening, which is Lava Rider. 6 chi, forward awareness, so our called shot awareness, 5 health, 16 action beckon, place Lava Rider on a spot. Oh, I don't even read out what the beckon is, sorry. Swift range attack, range fire attack 3, and then trigger Firebrand. If anything is dealt damage by Lava Rider without fire weakness, then they gain fire weakness for this round. Did you hate a 2 damage Idiris Fireball? Well, you're gonna really hate a 3 damage Idiris Fireball. Eric, take it away. I kind of been jumping in, so I'll let you take first.
No,
This one.
that's great. No, but I mean, you bring up a good point. So if you do the math, 3 + 3 is 6. What has 6 health? Violent Bindmans or Angels or Caustic Millipedes or a lot of these strong 6 Gs. I mean 8 Gs, right? So this is another great way of taking down the big summons. Probably why we didn't see a lot of the like the Dash Satyr deck or some of the other Titan decks that didn't have great protection. But yeah, um, this is a broken card. Whoever's playing it, they're just like wants to just crush their opponent and make them not have fun. Like,
Only
come
played
on,
by
like who
bad
would do that?
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bad players, just like kind of trying to one up the good players playing fair and balanced things like Kato.
For anyone who doesn't
Anyway,
know
no.
what's going on, that's Eric just throwing shade directly
Yeah,
at one of our viewers, which is Damien.
yeah.
So you're welcome.
Yeah, actually, I do want to make it very clear. I'm joking, very much joking. Damien played this card. He built a deck around this card. He's a very good player. Beat me in the championship. Yeah, and he was playing this one. So this one, so it is 6 chi, but we have to look at the health, right? So 5 health is not insignificant. It's actually, I was
For a
actually a little surprised
6G.
by that. For a 6G, like that is quite a bit. And so you have this big butt. At 6G is not too much, so you can actually fit quite a few into your deck. Kind of like how I fit 13 immersion worms. Like you can fit like 6 or 7, 8 even lava riders. Yeah, no, Will got my back. That was good. Um, and then you have your Adiris, who has fire damage on her fireball, fire damage with Brooks, fire damage on probably everything she's playing, except for Meteorite, right? Actually, Damon, did you have Meteorite, or did you take that card out? But anyway, so you're getting +1 damage. Now, how much is +1 damage? Well, on a 2 damage fireball, that's a 50% damage bonus, right? Like imagine you were playing, an RPG game and someone does a 50% damage bonus. You're like, oh wow, that's so much. Like that's crazy. That's what it's doing right now, right? Like that's a lot. Um, and when you have a lot of them at 5 health with that forward range, yeah, Pain of Hellchasm. Yeah, there you go. So even your 3 Chis are hitting like a truck, right? And it can really allow you to overwhelm your opponents. And so I'm trying to think of the cycle, right? I think this had the most health of anything in the cycle. And I think fire,
except for I think firing Krog, but that's one because it was
because that was an HE.
It
That
was
an
an
HE.
HE. Yeah, the Axon one was an HE.
Okay,
but yeah,
fair
apart
enough.
from that, yeah.
So this one was like reasonably costed at 16 aura, 60 to 5 health to 4 awareness, and I think fire just has like more ways to build around it. I think. I might be mistaken, but I think
No,
you
you're
have
right. A lot of the marquee like powerful summons deal fire damage for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Pain Imps for your 3 Chis, Hellchasm for your big 8 Chi like damage dealers. You have Baruchs.
Yeah.
You have your Fireball. It's just like great all around. It does not need the help, but hitting for 5 damage. It hits for 4, right? So hitting for an extra +1 is quite good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's I definitely underestimated this card. In fact, I think because I looked at it as a cycle, and while I liked having the idea of like more branding, I thought it kind of could create some cool, build arounds. Yeah, this one I think I slept on this one when we were like first looking at the set and building decks, but seeing in actual play, you realize that like if they put like 2 or 3 of these out, not only do they like each one of them just makes everything else around them a threat, and it's hard to deal with them, right? It can be quite difficult to deal with all of them if you don't have like, I mean, 2 tsunamis, sure, but
yeah, the awareness is a big part of it. I think it's we'll have to see. Maybe pick Coronavirus when there's more electric damaging cards in the pool, right?
Yeah.
For Phage, maybe pick Coronavirus could give it a run for its money, but right now the awareness on this compared to like the Earth one in Thymos, which is just forward, left, right, like it just you get more hits in with Lava Rider, which lets you get more hits in with your other Lava Riders or other cards. Like it just like it's just like a lovely package together, and 5 health.
Yep. Anyway, I think we're good on this one for now.
Yeah.
Hopefully Damien's satisfied, but Damien's the expert on this card, right? So.
Cool. So now we'll just move on to our honorable mentions. We'll kind of blast through these because there are honorable mentions. We don't want to spend too much time on them. But the first one is
good luck.
Where to go? Is a cycle. Our first honorable mention is a cycle of 4 cards. Don't worry about it. There is no fixed cards. It's really weird that it's only in Bellum, Thymos, Axon, and Phage. But
no chaos breaks.
No chaos breaks.
It never doesn't exist. There are no chaos breaks in J-Lara.
But yeah, so for those who aren't aware, drawbreak. This is a cycle of cards that every time you lose health, they put counters onto the card, onto the enchantment for every health lost, and then they all have some effect once you hit 5 counters that put a trigger on the stack to remove all the counters and then do an effect. So drawbreak. Its effect is draw 2 cards and discard a card, so it's card filtering at its finest. And then that's only with the first time it triggers. If it triggers twice, you're also hitting card advantage, which is great.
Yeah. This card with Kasha is amazing.
Yeah. Then our next one is oh, sorry, no, it's not the it's no Thymos ones. Sorry, is the Chaos one good? Okay, we'll have to find out because yeah, Agility Break.
Oh yeah, that card wasn't that good, right?
Yeah, that.
Yeah, I really like that Kasha card. Yeah.
Oh wait, no, maybe this one was okay. This one was
I
like
mean,
I mean, it
I
never
don't
saw
think it ever
play.
saw play.
Yeah, I mean, it's medium to mid. It's definitely a low one in the power cycle, but
Yeah.
it's conceivably playable.
Hmm.
It's just awkward timing because like unlike the others like Drawbreak, every time it hits 5 counters you're just gonna to rip them off and then do the effect, whereas Agility Break kind of wants you to just find a moment to do a movement. But most of the time if you want to be getting free movement, you probably want it at swift speed, not at a defined point in every round, which is the beginning of your turn. So Agility Break kind of mid for those reasons. But then we get back to Aura Break, which is our Axon one. And this one is just converting 5 counters of 5 health damage to you to 15 aura. Excuse me? Like, so at the first time it does it, you're up 7 aura. And then yeah, after that, it's like, that is not a zero amount of aura. Like, 15 is not
Yeah.
insignificant.
Yeah. No, this card could be good in some decks in the future. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, okay, that's the wrong one. Well, this is what it makes, which is Rhinovirus. This is a 3 electric attack. But our last one is Beckon Break, which I guess I scrolled past. There it is. Lose 5 health, make a Rhinovirus. Make a 3/3 electric attack. So free summons. And yeah, Iblis used this to great effect between it and Drawbreak to just be pumping out free bodies every time you do manage to get some damage on Iblis. And Iblis has the advantage of the counterplay to all these breaks is getting lots of damage all at once. So like you get them 4 and then you unload them to like 8 or 9, so that because the break trigger removes all the counters to once you've hit 5 or more. But Iblis built in weight to make sure that's going to be very hard to do because Iblis reduces all damage by 1 that's incoming. Yeah, so just a solid cycle.
Yep. Solid 4-card cycle.
Solid 4-card
3.5 card cycle.
Yeah, I'm not even bothered making the jokes and putting up the last one. And then our honorable mentions, we've got 1 more for each color. Anything you want to say on the breaks while I'm finding the last? Anything else you want to add? I guess, Eric. I think you kind of hit it.
No, because if I start talking about the breaks, I might start ranting about the one that Shonoff mentioned.
All right. So then our honorable mentions are 1 Parry, a scary card. This tiny thing cannot be targeted and does not occupy its spot, so you only get to use AoE on it. It only has 3 health, but believe me, that 3 health is enough.
Yeah, this is a mini angel.
Yeah,
just very scary.
Like, thank God it has an action speed attack, because otherwise, like, we'd be in a very different world right now. Scary Parry is right. If you saw the deck that was made by Jason at Edge of Exile, I think one of the first decks he made with invasions was called Scary Parry. But yeah, just follows you around as kind of like an inevitable 3 damage that's coming for you.
Yep.
For Bellum, Tower Sphinx. Do you want to take us away on this one, Eric?
Yep. So this is a pretty unassuming card. Just kind of pretty. It's a 4-chi, card with 2/2, but a little bit of a range, with a possibility of doing the 3 damage at a reasonable aura cost, right? So it's just very easy to slot into almost any Bellum deck, and you're always happy to really play it because of that range. Like having that 4/4 awareness, we've mentioned this like quite a bit, is no joke, and it helps it get in a lot more damage. And also, by Modify 3 isn't actually that hard to achieve. So like getting 3 damage off of your 4-chi is quite good.
I think this was one of the marquee for chis in the Satyr range championship deck. Just like what do we want from a 4-chi in terms of damage? If we're putting it in our deck, we want 2 damage. So Tower Sphinx, like with 2 hits, it's off to the races, right? And yeah, just a great range, a great summon.
Yep.
Cool. Next is another one for our groups of, or 3 cheese that you just need a good 3 chi in your colors to really do what you want to do. And that is Hearty Soup. So this is the Thymos Great 3 chi. Cure 1. You or target champion or summon in Hearty Soup's awareness gains 1 health, and then Hearty Trigger. If a champion gains health from Hearty Soup, the next energy cost they pay is reduced by 1 until the end of the game. It's just waiting there for whenever you play a next energy ability. Note that you can't save it. Like, it gets used whether or not it needs to be used for the one you're playing. But yeah, 3 chi, gain 1 health. Like, for 2 energy, which in Thymos colors is pretty much just no cards most of the time. Anything you want to add there, Eric?
Yeah, and so because a lot of Thymos cards, champions have energy, and so if you have 2 energy, this is not only free, but then it makes the next card you play cost 1 less. So it really be pretty useful to save a lot of energy. Say you have a lot of say you have some lunging assaults in your deck, and this can help kind of lower the cost, right, and smooth out some of your the other cards. Soup and all affiliations.
So yeah, what is the different soup forms? I guess maybe the numbing effect. So Szechuan is maybe Phage. It gets like a Szechuan a soup. Because that's
all right.
kind of like.
Let's go back on the track, right? Because we're already over time.
Oh, sure.
Because we could easily do a whole another hour doing that. But yeah, no, this is just like
soup? Oh god.
This is just just a solid 3 chi card. You don't mind playing it and just getting that 1 health. Health is non-trivial in this game. So
yeah, and having a good 3 chi opens up your deck. So that is a good 3 chi for Thymos.
Yep. Although keep in mind, you only get that energy reduction if you gain health, not if your summon did it. But
true.
Still, anyway. All right, next.
Dedicated Studies, 4 chi action cast, 2 energy, basically free. You draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. What is this? It's not even card advantage. Doesn't matter. Genesis is kind of unique. We've got cards with different power levels in our deck, and we want to filter out those 3 chis and make them into 8 chis, converting like a 3 and a 5 into like a 6 and an 8. That is worth going down a card.
That's right.
And yeah, such a fair way to do it. It's at action speed, not even swift. Go away, Eric.
That's right.
Take it away, Eric.
Yeah, so this is a very good setup card. And you're right, you do want to improve your overall hand quality, which is 100% true. However, it is pretty fair in that this isn't something you can just keep playing, because there is that card disadvantage, and you will run out of cards in your hand if you play it too much. So you can't stuff your deck with them, but you absolutely want some of these in your deck because it is so useful. Like, you will have those games where you have 5 3 chis and this card in your opening hand, and you're gonna play this card, discard those 3 chis, and draw your 8 chis, and you're gonna be like, wow, this is great. And it's just like the card filtering is so good. It was really tough to put this in the honorable mentions, but
so good.
But something had to give, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's an amazing card.
And I will say, with the Oni being spoiled, that's our first Axon champion with 2 or more energy reduction. So we'll see what happens with Dedicated Studies. This is just for
that's right. And there was an argument actually a while back that this card was actually more broken than Epiphany. They definitely feed each other. But anyway,
yeah, Epiphany with Dedicated Studies is getting busted. But it's the fact that it's improving the rest of your deck as well while it's doing all this, right? It's not a 5 chi where it's neutral on your card quality. It's improving your card quality when you build your deck. So yeah, that's why. All right, our next one is I built an entire deck around it. It is Caustic Millipede. There's the good boy. So just the first, I guess, guaranteed win con, if you can survive in Genesis, like alternate win condition with that Decay brand, get on the enemy champion.
Guaranteed win. Guaranteed
win, yeah, as long as they don't kill you first, which can be sometimes harder than it seems. Why does my opponent keep trying to kill me? But very cheap, 16 aura, 8 chi, with range electric attack 4, which functionally is 5 damage on a delay and then more if needed, and it's got the 6 health, and it's got that same forward awareness of By Mantle Called Shot. Yeah, no, it's just a solid card. Once again, spending less resources doesn't win you games. Playing good cards win you games, and like getting your money's worth for the resource, right? If you die with 30 resource unspent, that could have been Bymans, and maybe there should be Bymans in your deck, which is why we talk about the aura turns.
Yeah, but I will say, because it's cheaper, you have some low aura champions in Phage, and this is actually pretty cool because now those low aura summons can have fun playing a strong summon. Those low aura champions can have fun playing a strong summon, yes, because it's relatively cheap, right? 16 aura, pretty reasonable, with a very powerful body staple into it.
Yeah.
When all your millipedes die, but you win another K, yeah. And they probably died because the violent Bymans killed them.
Yeah, and then our last card for today and for this stream is Malefic Impalement. Let's pull up the epic art for this. Oh boy, what a card. So 8G, forward awareness, but not really, because we've got action line attack 5 and swift line attack 6. So the difference mainly being you're paying less energy for the damage. So you do 5 damage to target in line of sight, 5 damage to target in line of sight of Malefic Impalement for exert and 3 energy. And swift line attack 6, exert and 7 energy. You deal 6 damage to target in line of sight of Malefic Impalement. Why are we giving up our entire turn to pay 6 energy? Well, that might be because we're basically countering someone else's turn while we're doing it. And that is, if a champion is dealt damage by Malefic Impalement, then negate target ability played by that champion. That could be a beckon ability. That could be an epiphany. Whatever you like. And it just so happens on turn 1, you get to start opposite your opponent. So if they don't move and they're not thinking about it, oh my gosh, paying 7 energy, dealing 6 damage, and negating an Angel of Retribution. Oh.
Yeah, I know, right? And they can't even use Protective Barrier because they don't have a summon Nexo.
True.
But yeah, no, think about it. This is a high damaging at 6 damage counter spell, right? Like that's nuts. Yeah, the exert is tough, but you also have the option to just play it cheaply with the line attack. Now, I would say that would rarely ever happen because you'd rather have the more damage. And it wouldn't be until late game when that 4 energy really matters. But their option is there, which is kind of nice. But yeah, it's really there because you can just stop your opponent from doing something, do a lot of damage. And this can be very good. I think it was very good in yeah, exactly, with the line of sight. Yeah, so but it's very good in I guess a tier deck, right? Because tier wants a lot of summons, plays a lot of summons, so you have turn economy to go last, so that they do their stuff and then you can stop them. And also, it doesn't matter if you skip your turn because you only deal 1 damage anyway, and you're summoning cards out off turn, right, at the end of the round. So even if you don't summon anything on your turn, that's still okay. So there are different ways around its kind of drawback. But even so, just its upside is just so high.
Yeah, I think the Satyr deck that was at the championship was something like 80% or more to hit a summon. Like Malefic Impalement was one of the few cards that was in that deck because, again, we don't care about giving up our turn with the Nodgerwad cards in hand because we're fairly certain we can, as Eric was saying, dump it summon.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's Iblis on the art, so you can see this does so much damage, even Iblis gets hurt.
Very true. Cool. So that was, I guess, an hour-and-a-half stream. So I guess be warned for next week when we hit invasions for the second half of this. That's probably going to be another 1.5 stream. We'll try and move faster, but we'll see how things go.
Yeah, but if feel free to ask us questions and keep us longer. That's okay too.
Yeah. And comment on the video, like, subscribe, and all those other great things that, you know, give us the dopamine to keep on doing this week after week. Um, but
Yep.
yeah, thank you very much to everyone who watched today. I saw we got up to like 8 viewers at one point, which is like hype for us. Because it's been a while.
Yep.
Yeah, potentially we had cards enough for 2 episodes. That's only because the honorable mentions, which we breezed through in about like 10 to 15 minutes there. We wanted to, you know, have those as well. But I mean, yeah, we've got another 12 cards plus a couple of honorable mentions coming at you guys next week. So,
yep.
All right,
And that'll be fun. But yeah, so we're all set here.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the arena.
Bye.
There we go. Hey, bye-bye.